Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Mauh and you're on my channel here on YouTube, Mauh Tarot. This video is going to be entitled From Christian to Witch Q&A. So if you are a Christian who is wanting to become a witch and looking into witchcraft and spells and magic and deities, this could be helpful for you. You can understand the experience that I went through, and you can look at your own experience and compare or see how it's different from my journey. And for those of you who are just curious to understand a little bit about my experience as a witch and the questions that I've written down that I'm going to ask and answer for you guys on this video. So let's go ahead and get started. I just want to let you know first, though, that all the answers that I'm giving are based on my own experience. I have been following witchcraft, well, being a witch for almost a year. February 14 of this year, 2021, will be the full year and a day that I've been embarking on my witch path. And oh, there's a ladybug there. I hope it's not dead. Oh, it's alive. I'll have to let it out. It's just so cold outside. I hope it can live in here. Anyways, there's a ladybug. That's good luck. Thank you, ladybug, for bringing me your good luck. I hope you'll be okay. I don't want to let the ladybug outside because it's so snowy and cold and I don't know where the ladybug would go. But what do ladybugs eat? Like, how can I take care of this ladybug? I have a lot of plants. Hopefully it can live off the plants and the bugs in the plants, if there are any bugs in the plants. Anyways, so the first question we have for this Christian to Witch Q&A is, how do you know you're a witch? And that's a really, really good question, because how do you know you're a witch, right? Especially if you've been practicing a certain religion all your life. Like myself with Christianity, I accepted Jesus into my heart when I was 6 years old. And I was raised in a Christian home. So how do I know that I'm a witch? And I think the way I know that I'm a witch, and the way you might be able to identify yourself as a witch, is you start to look away from your current religion, and you feel like you've hit a brick wall, and you feel like this religion that you've been practicing, whether it be Christianity or whatever other religion that you might be practicing that's not witchcraft or the witch's path, you start to feel like you need more. Like for me, every time I would do everything right as a Christian, every time I would tithe my 10%, read my Bible every day, pray every day, go to church regularly, try to pray every day and pray consistently, daily, throughout the day, not engage in any sexual activity with my boyfriend, living at home and not living with my partner, my boyfriend. And so, following all those rules that Christianity makes, trying to tell people about Jesus, trying to love others as I love myself. And that's not a difficult one for me, trying to love others as I love myself. But anyway, so how do you know you're a witch? I think that you know because you just feel it in your body. You start to look at the witch's path. You start to look into maybe other deities other than your own. And as you just kind of go into it, you kind of start to practice magical things. Like before I was looking into being a witch, I was looking into being a pagan. And I was moving into the direction of wanting to cast spells for something that I was very passionate about. I wanted to cast a spell, and I didn't even think about being a witch, but I had a lot of I guess you could say paranormal experiences that kind of made me question my reality and question what I believed. And so looking back now, at what I was doing before I even decided that I was going to try to call myself a witch or be a witch, I realized that I was playing with crystals, I was playing with candles, I was doing I did a spell long before eight to 10 years before I even got to this point now where I'm on my year and a day journey. I was doing a spell. I've always loved going into forests and being connected with that magical place, the forests. And that doesn't mean that you're a witch if you like forests, right? Because a lot of people love nature and it doesn't mean they're a witch. But how do you know you're a witch? You have a desire to call yourself a witch. You feel like that's just where you are meant to be. You just feel like that is what you are. And I remember when I was really young, I think I was probably about 10 years old or something like that. I was probably in grade 3 or 4, and there was a boy that called me a witch. Now, I thought that he was insulting me at the time, calling me a witch, because I took it as an insult. But I think I took it as an insult because I had really dark hair and I had a really pale face. And I think that I thought that he was talking about my looks, but maybe he was actually thinking that I was a witch. I don't know. Maybe he got this certain energy or vibe that I was a witch. So how do you know you're a witch? I think the way that you can know that you're a witch is if you just try to keep following your intuition, keep following the direction that you're being led to go in. And slowly you'll realize that you aren't maybe a Christian, or you aren't drawn to Christianity anymore if you're in that boat like me, or if whatever other religion you're practicing, you start to feel like you've hit a brick wall and you need to turn somewhere else. And how do you know you're on the right path? Well, it's hard sometimes to feel like you're on the right path, but it's like you don't even realize you're on a path. It's like you're going in a direction. And because when I became a pagan, and from January of 2020, I started looking into deities, into Wicca, and into the goddess and the god. And I just knew I was on the right path because I knew that I was excited about looking into these things. I knew that I was excited about learning these things. I knew that it was igniting a flame within myself that I couldn't ignore. And so you know you're on the right path when you're just following your heart and you're just following what makes you feel like you're on the right path. So how do you know what deities to choose? Well, let's say that you don't want to involve deities in your practice. That's fine. You don't have to. You can involve your ancestors. You can involve the universe, spirit, source. Maybe you don't believe in any kind of higher power. You could just believe in the earth and the power of the earth and Mother Nature. But if you do want to choose a deity, how do you choose a deity? Well, I feel like the deity chooses you. I was looking into Cernunnos and Saradwin because to me, those two goddesses, those two deities, the god and the goddess, Cernunnos and Saradwin, they had an appeal to me in the sense that Cernunnos was the god of the forest and the animals, and I didn't see him as threatening. And Saradwin was the goddess of the cauldron and magic and poetry. And she just had this motherly feel to her that I was drawn to. And they were deities that I didn't see as threatening and I didn't see as bad. So I chose to write down a ritual to introduce myself to Cernunnos and Saradwin, and to make an oath to follow the Wiccan path for a year and a day in order to see how I would see Wicca at the end of the year and the day. Because if you want to become a Wiccan, you have to, well, you should follow the year and the day path. And after a year and a day, if you feel like you still want to be a Wiccan and you still want to follow that path, you can do a self-initiation, and you can call yourself a Wiccan, or you could join a coven, but that's another option. So how do you know what deities to choose? You really don't know what deities to choose. You kind of just have to go on a journey for yourself to look into different names. You type in different names on Google or whatever search engine you use in the computer. You would type in the name of a deity and you would see where the deity's from, what the story is with that deity, what that deity represents as far as magical abilities or characteristics goes, and then you just take it from there. You just go with your heart, you go with your intuition, you go with your gut. And if you want to learn more about that deity, you can always do that, but don't be afraid to choose a deity if you feel like that deity is calling to you. That's one bit of advice that I would definitely give you. Don't be afraid to choose a deity because you don't know everything about them. Because if you feel like they're calling you, then that means that they're choosing you and they want you to choose them as well. So the next question is, how do you release preconceived beliefs? So because for me, I was a Christian, so it was a very gradual journey into releasing preconceived beliefs. And even now I still feel like I don't know, how the deities in the pagan belief system, how they operate. So I still see, like, I'm slowly getting over seeing them the way I would see the Hebrew God, so Jesus and God of the Bible. Because I was taught from a young age about Jesus and the Bible and God and who God was by my Christian parents. So the way I saw the deity known as Cernunnos, or another deity that I also chose was Baphomet. So I know that they're completely different from the Hebrew God. But they are all at the same time kind of one, because they're all part of Source and the Great Spirit, the universe. But I was like, all the different things that I had been taught about the Hebrew God from the Bible, I was seeing the other deities, like maybe not the goddess, because they don't have a goddess in the Hebrew Bible, but the God, I was seeing him in the same sense that I would see the Hebrew God. So I had to slowly let go of those ways by learning the new ways that those deities express themselves and how they wanted to be approached. So there's also other preconceived beliefs like hell. Like if you are going from being a Christian to being a pagan or practicing witchcraft or calling yourself a witch, I know that for me, I would get scared that I was going to hell. A lot of the times I would be like, oh great, now I'm probably going to hell because, I'm doing this. And I was often scared about hell. But I read a really good book by Anne Rice called Mauh the Devil. And she actually opened my eyes to see things in a different way than I had already seen them. The creation story and the story of the Bible. She puts a different twist on it, and she illuminates the story in a different light, and that helped me to believe differently than what I was always believing. So it's difficult to release preconceived notions, especially if you've been taught a certain way all your life, but it's also something that you're doing with your heart. If you're going in that direction and you want to change your religion or change your belief system, you have to follow your heart. I think that's one of the main things that I would encourage you to do, is follow your heart, because if you don't feel like, sometimes you'll feel like those old beliefs coming back to you, and they won't feel right to you. They'll feel kind of icky or make you feel kind of sick. And that's because you don't believe them anymore. And, I do believe that people can create their own hell if they have a lot of bad energy and they live their life in a horrible way. I do feel like they'll bring that into the next life, and that they will live in the hell that they created. But I don't believe that if you don't follow the Hebrew God, that you're going to go to hell. But a lot of people do believe that, but I just don't believe that for myself. But as I was slowly going through my Wiccan path journey, I would often think about hell, and I would often think about how I might still go to hell because I'm doing this, and how I thought that hell still existed, perhaps, and that I might be going there. But it's difficult to release preconceived beliefs, but it does happen slowly and gradually. So just take your time. Is it normal to be afraid? Well, as I was saying, I was afraid from time to time that I was still going to hell. So it is normal to be afraid, and because you're switching your belief system from one that you believed in and adhered to a completely different one. And I often had a hard time believing that, like, homosexuals supposedly were going to hell, because my boyfriend introduced me to a lot of different gay people and lesbian people, and They were so nice. Like, I even felt like they were nicer than just regular people. I felt like they had so much life and so much energy and so much love. And so I had a hard time even accepting that they were going to hell for doing what they were doing and for not giving that up and turning their lives over to Jesus. Like, I didn't know how that was fair, and I didn't necessarily want to adhere to that. So it was scary for me to not understand why I didn't believe that, because if I was supposed to be a good Christian, I feel like I should have believed that that was true, but I never really did believe that it was true. So do you start to remember or be reminded by the universe that you're correct? Do you start to remember or be reminded by the universe that you're correct? Do you remember? Do you start to remember or be reminded by the universe that you're correct? Yeah, so that's kind of a difficult question, but you know, like, I know that I'm still learning. I'm on my year and a day journey. I don't know if I want to be a Wiccan. It's been, like I said, almost a year and a day on February 14th, and I don't know if I'm actually going to go with the Wiccan belief system. I think I'm just going to be a pagan and practice my own way of thinking. But I think back to, like, I'll remember certain times in my life where, like, one time I was at a Christian camp, and the counselor was talking about Dungeons and Dragons and how it's really bad, and she was talking about witchcraft, and I was really interested in what she was saying, and I wasn't afraid of what she was saying. I wasn't disgusted or turned off by what she was talking about, as I feel like I should have been if I was actually turned off or disgusted by that stuff. But I was just really interested in it, and I was interested in tarot cards as soon as I got introduced to them in my early 20s, probably 22 or 23. I love the tarot from the moment that I started using it, and I think I'll always be a student of the tarot for my life. My whole life I'll be learning the tarot, and I'm really happy to be able to do that. But you start to be reminded of things in your life, like loving forests and being at peace in a forest, or doing strange things like burying things in the ground. Like, one time I stole this shirt from somebody at the pool. I was young. I was probably like 6 or 7. I stole this really nice shirt from a locker that was left open. And I'm sorry that I did that, because it wasn't right. But I wanted to get rid of it, so I buried it in the ground in my backyard. And I feel like that's kind of a weird way to get rid of a shirt. Like, why don't you just throw it in the garbage or whatever? But I guess there was something, because now, like, I know witches, they do that. They bury things in the ground when they're doing spells. And going into forests and just feeling at peace with that spookiness of the forest, picking up bugs. I've always been kind of like an empath, because I always could feel the energy of bugs and people. And I used to sleepwalk when I was a child, and just like little things that made me realize that I was never a normal child. I was never a normal quote unquote type of person. And I feel like that's because I was always meant to embrace my own individuality and follow my own path, and not try to conform to any sort of religion or any sort of rule book. So you do get reminded as you're on your journey of being a witch or practicing paganism, but in this case being a witch, you do get reminded by the universe about certain times in your life where you did things that were witchy, or where you were connecting with your own path and with your own belief system. So is it still scary at times? I feel like that's being kind of redundant, but I don't feel like actually, that's not true. It is still scary at times, because sometimes I'll talk to my parents, and especially now with COVID and everything like that, they'll talk to me about the end of the world. They'll talk to me about the Antichrist. They'll talk to me about people trying to control the world and trying to control people with microchips, or different things. And there is like a whole belief system attached to Christianity that talks about the rapture, where Christians will be raptured before a horrible time of tribulation, and they'll be with God in heaven, and the rest of the people who don't believe in the God of the Bible will stay here and be tortured if they don't take the mark of the beast or conform to what the world says they need to conform to. And it's true that sometimes when I'm listening to my parents, because I'm an Aquarius, I can see like different sides of the story and I can understand their side of the story. And sometimes when I'm talking to them, it kind of makes me afraid to hear what they're saying. But I know that at the core of who I am, I don't believe it. And I don't believe that everybody has to be a Christian or else they're going to hell. Like, I just don't believe that. Is it a quick realization? No, wait. How do you know what to do? So that's a really good question too. How do you know what to do to be a witch? I think it just comes out of you naturally. If you're a witch, yeah, of course you need to look at books sometimes and you need to study, like, let's say the meaning of the tarot cards if you want to practice some sort of divination as a witch. You know, what question am I at? How do you know what to do? Right. So sorry, I drew a blank there for a second, but you will be like, I remember when I used to play with crystals and candles before my year and a day departure, and I used to get rid of things that had negative energy in the house and try to clear the energy in the house at my parents' house, because I was living at my parents' house for most of my life. And I was moving in and out of my partner's house because I was struggling as an individual with my belief system. So I would move in to my boyfriend's house and then I would move out with the feeling of guilt that I shouldn't be living with him without being married and practicing, you know, physical things with him without being married. So how do you know what to do? So if you're a witch at heart, you kind of just know what to do because you are drawn to witchy, and I don't like to use that word witchy things, but like those words witchy things kind of sounds like a little bit shallow, but you're drawn to things that are witchy, basically. Like, you, whatever you can think of that's witchy, if you're drawn to it, like it could even be music. Like, it could start with like a certain type of music where you're questioning your belief system, let's say in Christianity or whatever type of religion that you're in. You start to kind of, I don't want to say rebel, but you kind of start to push those things away and invite other sort of things into your life that are more on the path of being a pagan or being a witch or turning away from a patriarchal religion. So you just kind of learn what to do. And then as you realize that you are a witch and as you realize that you do want to be a witch and do this, then you start to delve in more deeply and start to look up things and read things and understand things better for yourself. So it isn't a quick realization, at least it wasn't in my case. It was more of like, it took years for me to get to this point. But I feel like once I started looking into the goddess and the god, I just knew that this was my path. The next question is it a quick change? And I think that's kind of the same type of answer that I already gave. It isn't a quick change. Like I said, it took years and years for me, like, you know, it started when I was 6, right? Because I invited a God into my heart. So I was always spiritual. I always felt energy. Like, the reason why I accepted Jesus in my heart when I was 6 years old is because I was afraid in bed every night. I would try to stay awake. I would keep my eyes open and try to stay awake so that I could fight off any sort of energy or person that would come into the house as a child, 6 years old. Imagine trying to fight off an adult who comes into your house and tries to kill your family or whatever. That's what I had in my mind, was that something bad was going to happen. I could feel the negative energy at 6 years old. And so when my mom came in my room and said, do you want to invite Jesus in your heart? You're not going to feel scared anymore. I decided I would do that. So even at 6 years old, I was connected to spirituality and wanting to accept a deity into my life. So it was a long journey for me from 6 years old to almost 40. But as far as witchcraft goes, like, I only started looking into actually being a witch when I was 39 years old, January 22nd, 2020, when I turned 39 years old. And I'm turning 40 January 22nd, 2021. So it's not a quick journey. It's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong process, and it's not a quick change. It's a gradual change, in my opinion. Do you hate your old religion, Christianity? So I don't hate my old religion, but I do get turned off by it. I don't hate Christians. I love my parents. They're Christians. They have good hearts. You know, they're nice people. I like the people that I used to go to church with for the most part. They've always been really nice to me. A little, I mean, they don't really connect with the same things that I connect with, obviously, but you know, I liked going to church when I went to church. I didn't like to sing because I felt like my singing and my worship was going to be so much more intense than theirs, because I wanted to lift my hands. And I guess if I was still a Christian, I would probably be more Pentecostal, because I like to make I like to make a lot of emotion come out. I like to move my arms. I like to dance. I like to, you know, feel the spirit, like they would call it, drunk on the spirit. And in the Pentecostal church, people would laugh, they would cry, they would dance. And I feel like that's more of a physical practice that I would like to be in more if I was a Christian. But I'm not a Christian. So do I hate Christianity? No. Do I feel kind of turned off by it? Yes, because I know the Bible is a very magical book, and a lot of the verses are very magical, because they have a lot of power to them, and they have a lot of weight to them. Like, a lot of the words of Jesus were words of love, and you know, they came from his heart, and he wasn't a hypocrite. He was just himself, and he was creating a revolution in his time. So I don't hate Jesus. I actually still have a Jesus tattoo on my arm that I got done years ago, but I don't hate the religion. I don't like to hate anything. Like, I don't, obviously, if somebody wants to be a Christian and that's what they want to believe, then good for them. Like, I haven't got any negative comments as far as from Christians for being a witch, but I'm sure that eventually I probably will. And will I hate them then? No, I won't hate them then. I'm not a hater. But will I dislike it? Yes, I will dislike it. Will I agree with it? No, I won't agree with it. Will I hate them? No, I won't hate them. I don't hate anybody. I feel like everybody gets what they deserve, and karma comes back around for people who are hateful. So I don't hate my old religion. How does your family feel? Are you out of the broom closet? I am out of the broom closet. It didn't take long for me to want to come out of the broom closet, but it did necessitate what I needed to do to come out of the broom closet was to be out of my family's home. So I live with my partner here in this beautiful home that we have together, and I'm able to be myself here. I'm able to practice, you know, my rituals. I'm able to have my witchy things and not have them taken away from me, or have them be thrown out, or have them be taken from me and kept from me. And also, you know, I'm going to be 40. I'm an adult now, so I don't want to live with my parents, but I did live with my parents for a long time. And I had to hide a lot of the stuff that I was interested in, because oftentimes my father would throw out CDs that we had that were hardcore CDs that weren't Christian, and even Christian ones, they didn't agree with hardcore music. I was a punk when I was a teenager, so I was always sort of going against the norm, you know, wearing fishnets and, you know, weird Spice Girl clothes. I wasn't like a street punk. I was more like just like a punk who wanted to rebel against, you know, what the norm was. So my family, how do they feel about it? Some of my family members one of my family members tried to tell me that I was doing something that was dangerous, which I didn't like, but I respect her opinion. My mother still sends me Christian links, and that's fine. I don't mind looking into what she's interested in. I didn't really get any feedback from my family, to be honest. Not even my brother, who's a very devout Christian, said anything to me about it. I think it's just something where they realize that now I'm almost 40 and this is the path I've chosen, so they're not going to try to sway me to believe anything else. Plus, I grew up in a family of 5 girls and 1 boy, and then myself as well, so 7 kids. And besides my brother and maybe my sister, one of my sisters, all of us have chosen our own path, and we've chosen to not be Christians, but to kind of just be who we are. So my parents didn't really say anything specific to me about coming out of the broom closet. But like I said, I don't live at home, and I understand that if you live at home and you want to transition from being a Christian to being a pagan or being a witch, you have to do so, and you can't really come out of the broom closet unless you're willing to hear about the flack about why you shouldn't be going down that path. How do you know what type of witch you are? Well, I don't really know what type of witch I am. I think I'm an eclectic witch because I kind of believe in my own system of doing things, even though I like to read about the Wiccan way of doing things. Or it's nice to have those that knowledge so that you can use, you know, something from here, something from there, and kind of use it as your own practice. So I don't know how you would know which type of witch you are. I guess it's probably just seeing what you're interested in. If you're more of a crystal witch and you like to use crystals, but to me, a witch is a witch, and whether or not you're a kitchen witch or an astrology witch or a Wiccan witch, like I think a Wiccan witch is more specific because you're choosing a sort of belief system that has rules to it. But then again, even in the Wiccan tradition, there are Wiccan belief system, there are many traditions and they do things differently in each tradition. So I think it's not necessary to know what type of witch you are, but if you want to label yourself, go ahead and do it. Just find out what you are most interested in. If it's like doing kitchen witchery or crystal witchery or candle witchery, or, you know, I feel like as a witch, I kind of use a little bit of everything. And that's why I think I'm more like an eclectic witch, because they kind of take pieces from everywhere. How did you come out of the broom closet? Well, I actually posted a post of one of my YouTube videos on Facebook, and I basically did a little spiel about how, you know, Christianity wasn't my path anymore and how I was on a new path and that it was to be a witch. And I deleted that post later, but I kept posting things about my YouTube channel so that people could see that I was interested in tarot and Lucifer and meditation and all the stuff that I've posted on my YouTube channel up till now. How did you know it was time to come out of the broom closet? You know, I couldn't hold it back anymore. That's probably what it was. Like I like to be honest with people. I don't want to try to hide who I am. And I know that sometimes that's necessary, because I did hide a lot of stuff that I was doing in my own room when I was living with my parents, especially with the tarot, like, because tarot cards would be confiscated. So, you know, I had to hide what I was doing. I had to hide even books that I was reading. I wasn't allowed to read the Anne Rice Chronicles series, so I had to hide those books. I do remember when I was in my early 20s, I was really looking into astrology, Nostradamus, numerology. So that was in my early 20s. And I do remember always being a spiritual person. So this is my video from Christian to Witch Q&A. Hopefully it was helpful for anybody who is new to being a witch, or just like me. I've only been on my year and a day path for almost a year and a day now. February 14th, 2021 will be my full year and a day of deciding that I wanted to be a witch, and then getting a couple tattoos that represent my witch transition. Excuse me. So if you are a Christian and you want to be a witch and you want to do it in secret because that's how you have to do it for now, I don't think there's anything wrong with transitioning from being a Christian to a witch. I think that you'll know if it's meant for you, and you'll know if you're on the right path because you'll feel more at ease. And are things perfect for me now? No, they're not. Do I always feel like, do I still have anxiety? Yes, I do. Is it due to COVID? Probably. You know, I think a lot of us are dealing with anxiety and uncertainty. So it's not necessarily based on the fact that I chose to be a witch, but it's more so based on the surroundings, the environment, the government's lockdowns and stuff like that. So I hope you found this video helpful. It's at 33 minutes now, so I hope you were able to sit through the whole video. If you did like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to leave a comment down below and have any other questions for me, I'd be welcome to. I'll be happy to. I'll welcome the questions, and I'll be happy to answer them perhaps in another video. Or if there's not a lot of comments asking questions, I'll just answer the questions in the comment section. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. My name is Mauh. You're on my YouTube channel, Mauh Tarot. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.